Hello, my dear students. A very warm welcome to a very important and very useful session of learning. In today's session, I will be discussing about a very important topic which is not only useful for your examination point of view, but also it is quite useful in your future, because once you pass out of the college and then the job market is there out there, which is open for you. In such a scenario, uh, definitely resume writing and how do you write your CV, and what are the components and requirements to write a formal cover letter. These three things will definitely help you a lot. Generally, resume writing as a fresher, when you apply for a job, then you will have the requirement of a resume. Resume is very important for a beginner, because that is where you start your entry into the world of jobs. Job opportunities always are there, but for the person with the right knowledge and with the right skills, and writing a good resume is also very important, because that is the first impression which will give to your prospective employers, because the employers will definitely have some kind of opinion once they look at your resume. That's the practical point of view. And now coming to what is resume and cover letter. Now coming to some basic things about resume. Very basic things about resume. Actually, in your textbook, in your chapter on resume writing, you can find that this word, resume. This is derived from a French word, resume. It means summary. Summary means something which has been written in short or in brief. Because resume actually, it's a brief document. It should be prepared and used by the job seeker. The job seekers, I mean the persons who are interested to find jobs and get employed. It is for them that they have to create, or they have to prepare a very brief document about themselves. That's the first thing. So resume is derived from the French word called resume, which means summary, and resume is a brief document which is used to prepare by the job seeker to get a job. And what does this resume generally have? It's very obvious that it's a very short way of putting your qualification, your experience, then what kind of skills you have, and what are your achievements. All these things put together are good enough for a resume. They definitely will provide the employer some basic information about resume. All right. Then resume, what happens? It provides the necessary information also that's needed by the prospective employer. Prospective employer here means the person, the employer who is about to take you for the job. He is your future or prospective employer. He is a prospective employer. He gets all the information about the job seeker, that is the aspirant, job aspirant. And along with the resume, there is one more important thing, because just preparing your resume and just handing it over to someone will not be very fair. It doesn't look really good. So what you need to do is you also have to attach a cover letter along with the resume. So these are all the basic things about resume. And now let us go into what are the different parts of resume, because a resume also will have a certain kind of a structure. All right, this is the structure of a resume, basic structure of a resume. So it's a very obvious thing that there should be a clear heading for the resume. That is the most important thing here. The resume must have a clear heading. So what happens is the heading also, it should contain your complete contact information. Okay, the applicant's contact information must be given in the heading. Why? Because if the job applicant, the job aspirant, if he is found to be good enough by the employer, then he has to get in touch with the job aspirant. He will be intimated about his being selected or sometimes shortlisted. So the heading always must contain the contact information of the applicant. This is very vital because it is a kind of getting back to you. The employer, the prospective employer, will now get back to you. That's the idea here. And there is something called as job title, which is also an important part of the resume. What is this job title? You need to specify this post for which you are applying for. All right. Suppose if you are applying for the post of a manager, or for the post of a clerk, or for the post of a probationary officer, or anything like that, you need to apply. You need to specify what exactly you are applying for, so that there will be clarity about the kind of job you are looking for, because there could be uh, various job aspirants applying for various jobs, for a variety of jobs. And the problem is the employer will not waste much of his time in trying to segregate or classify who has applied for what kind of job. That's there, because the thing is, like, you need to have some kind of clarity to which job you are applying for. That's very important. So the second important thing here is having a job title. And whenever you start a resume, what you must have, you must start your resume with a very basic thing called as career objective. Objective here. Objective here means what is your what is your interest here, and what is your purpose of joining, or what is the purpose of your career, or what do you want to achieve in your career. So you are setting an objective very clearly. So the career objective must be very clearly mentioned, and it should be very catchy. It should attract the attention, and it should form a very good impression with the employer. Because what happens is the employer will definitely get to know how serious you are, and what is the long term vision and what kind of goals you have set for yourself, and in the process, how we are going to benefit, how we are going to be helpful to the organization that you wish to join. So, this particular thing can be mentioned very clearly in the career objective. It's very important here. And then your resume must also have details about your education. Your education again is very important here because uh, there are definitely specific degrees or a specific qualification which the employer will be looking for. And what happens is the employer actually looks for certain degrees or certain what do you call qualifications, because he is very sure that the candidates with certain eligibility always will work perform much better than people with different qualifications, because of which what happens, the right person in the right job and in the right place will always be beneficial to the company in the long run. So, education is one part of your resume wherein you are mentioning your specific details about your education and what kind of professional training you have, because you might be trained or you might have qualified as as an engineer or as an accountant or as an income tax specialist. So these are all various qualifications, and when you apply for a particular job, you need to mention what kind of background, what kind of education you have had. You would have studied in different schools and prestigious colleges, prestigious universities. So all this go to a large extent in a kind of brand building of the candidate, because always we have a good impression about a particular candidate who comes from a prestigious institute. Say, for example, there's a candidate who has applied for a job, who has graduated, who is from Indian Institute of Management or Indian Institute of Technology, the typical IIMs and IIT. So what happens is, because of the education, because of their background, due to their passing out from very good institutes, they stand a better chance compared to some other candidate who has not graduated from such prestigious institutions. So obviously they have an edge over others. Other candidates may also be good, no doubt, but because of the educational qualification and the kind of institutes from which they have passed out, it goes a long way to give them better opportunities. So in your resume, the education is also an important part. And coming next to the work experience part, there is another important aspect in a resume, because your resume must be brief and it must summarize. That's right, it must summarize, but at the same time, it must also give some brief picture about your work experience. Why? Because actually, in a resume, your work experience will give you uh, some kind of weightage, Because what happens, the employer, he will look at the work experience, and he will definitely think of you if you are experienced in a particular skill or in a particular task. If you are experienced, and probably if that is what the employer is looking for, then obviously the work experience what you have mentioned in your resume, it definitely goes a very long way. So you need to mention your work experience. All right. Then, if you have any particular skills or skill sets, that will also definitely help you a lot. And if you have such skill sets, you need to mention that in your resume. So if you have some specific skills, for example, commerce students might have some skill such as tally or some specialization in accountancy and things like that. So the some skills are acquired other than your studies, other than your basic graduation. There are many skills for which you have to go and join a particular course outside the college, or sometimes within the campus also they're available sometimes, and you need to upgrade your skills. It is said that if you update yourself with the latest skills, then your demand in the job market will definitely be higher. Otherwise, what happens if you don't update? Then obviously you will be left behind in the job market. So, the updating yourself and updating your skills is the mantra to get success in getting a very good job, getting a high paying job. Because we have seen candidates from IIMs, IITs, who earn close to, say half a crore or 1 crore per annum. All that is quite possible because of their hard work, because of their prestigious courses which they have done in very good institutes which are widely recognized in the world. So it's obviously the best will always get the best in the world. So what I mean to say is you need to upgrade your particular skills, specific skills. And another important part in the resume is you also have to tell about your achievements and about your interests. Very important here, because achievements are also there. You might have achieved something as your as a schoolboy, you might have achieved, or as a young college student also you might have achieved so much. So it's quite obvious that your achievements will also give you an edge over others. So suppose if you were the best student in NSS, best NSS cadet, NCC cadet, NSS volunteer, all these things will definitely go a long way. And if you were a participant in the Republic Day parade or something like that, that's also very helpful and very, very useful when you apply for a job, for any kind of job. So your resume will definitely carry a lot of weight with your achievements, with your what do you call, awards and achievements. And also in the resume you also need to give your references, because actually we don't know who you are. As a prospective employer, I might not know anything about you. You are totally a stranger, an XYZ to me. So how do I know? That's the first question here. Because of there is a technique called as references technique. So if you give me two references in your resume, then I can at least get to know for through them about your character, about your education, about your personality as such, whether you are a balanced personality, or you are prone to extremism or extreme anger or imbalanced personality. So these kind of things and all I can know through your references, because what kind of an opinion you have, what kind of an opinion you give, what kind of an opinion which I get from these references. All right, because these references are very important. Once they recommend that this so and so candidate is having very good qualities and they know him, and there is nothing which will go against their employment. So, such good references will always be quite helpful. So that's the best part of getting references. So that's the point in getting your resume complete and updated. Now, how your resume must be written? So that's the first question here. And I'll give you certain tips about writing a very good resume. Now, what happens is your resume must be now not very complicated and very complex. It should be very simple and it should be easy to read. It should be legible, it should be easy to understand, easy to read also. And if it is very clumsy and if it is very, complicated, then definitely it will put off, the interest by the employer. So what I mean to say is your resume must be very brief, and the kind of font which you use in the resume, it is better to be a bit professional. And when you are using something like Times New Roman, the font should not be very big. It should be just the font size. If it is 12, that should be fine. And and what I mean to say is, your resume must contain only what is most important and relevant. Okay, because it's not like you have to just stuff your resume with all kinds of things which may not be relevant to your job application. And at the same time, as I said, told earlier, your achievements and your skills also must be highlighted. And you must also have enough care to complement what kind of hobbies you have, and whether the hobbies will complement the job you have applied for. Because your hobbies and your job, if they are totally going in different ways, then it may not be helpful to highlight your hobbies. And finally, make sure your contact details, like your contact number, your contact email ID, all these are functional. And at the same time, look at the format and the fine print in your resume. See to it that all the subheadings should be used, because it looks very good. There is no need to stuff too much, so make clear headings and make some important points, preferably in some bullet points. And resume, actually, if you have one clear look, maybe do a kind of proofreading before sending the resume, then it will help you quite a lot. I hope I have just given something to you today. Hope I have told you a few things about the resume, which will definitely be helpful to you in your future. Thank you, my dear students.